Hello Trampions, thank you for joining me. This week's sponsors... Okay, we don't have a sponsor, but this is the weekend show. Wait, we don't have an intro yet either? Anyway, thank you for joining me for the first episode of the Trampionship Wrestling Weekend Show. As opposed to the old Too Late to Sleep, this is the new The Weekend Show. It is going to be mostly the same show, just a little bit different. We went to a name change to reflect that we are no longer putting this up in the middle of the night on Friday night when most of you actually have stuff to do. We are now going to be putting this show up on Saturday mornings. This is going to be a talk about the weekend wrestling, a look at the week ahead with focus on that calendar that I've been telling you so much about. The old show, the name reflected what it was supposed to be in the very beginning, which was meant to be a take on late show monologues, hence the name, Too Late to Sleep. And I don't recommend going to watch the old shows. They're even worse than what you're seeing now. But that's why it was named that. If you came along later and you didn't get why it was called that, that's why. So we're doing away with that. No longer doing that. We're now the weekend show. We're on Saturdays. Still going to be the thread at the Reddit Country Club, but instead of being Too Late to Sleep, it's going to be the weekend thread. Same idea. So let's get into it. Last weekend there was the Pro Wrestling World Cup. We didn't really get to talk about the finals that much because when I had filmed they hadn't taken place yet. Kushida won. He is now the world champion among many world champions, but he is the holder of the World Cup of Professional Wrestling, or at least he was for about 30 seconds until the Prestige came in and destroyed the cup to push a storyline. That Kushida might have one or two appearances to deal with the aftermath. Hey! Fun. Yeah. It was great to have, 64 wrestlers from around the world all come together. Hell of a match, Kushida versus Ospreay in the finals. Just a fantastic match. Then we had Penta El-Zero and Speedball Mike Bailey have an exhibition match during the final show, which was very good. We don't have another episode of the best moments yet because a lot of the best moments were from WWE and those get my video blocked. So we're waiting to get more indie clips. We've got a few, working on a full show, but it was a little shorter than I wanted it to be, so we're waiting. But that's going to be on it, a clip from the Penta versus Mike Bailey match. It was a great show, but yeah, it all went up to all that work just to put over the Prestige. WCPW puts on some fantastic matches, but sometimes what culture, sometimes. But speaking of fantastic matches, they announced their first match for Refuse to Lose, and it is going to be the tag team match. I believe we've seen it in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. I don't think it's the first time these two tag teams have been together, but it's a tag team match that everybody wants to see New Japan Pro Wrestling put on. They could put it on. They refuse to. WCPW refuses to lose out on that opportunity. War Machine versus the Young Bucks for the WCPW Tag Team Championship. That should be an amazing match. Another big story from this weekend was Triple Mania. Took place the same night as the McGregor-Mayweather fight, and they actually delayed the main event. Even with the delays of the main event of May-Mac, they delayed their main event to go on after the Mayweather-Mac fight so that people could switch over from that to their show. It was broadcast on free TV in Mexico. It was broadcast for free on Twitch around the world. There was an English language broadcast. But all anybody has been talking about, even with the main event being a mask versus mask match, legend unmasking, but all anybody stateside has been talking about is how Rosemary got injured in the match by Sexy Star, who finished the match with an armbar and refused to let it go. We don't know why. We haven't heard any stories about motivation for that. All we know is that she kept it on too long and pulled too hard. She did a shoot armbar and dislocated the shoulder of Rosemary. Even during the match, before any of this happened, the English language commentators were criticizing Sexy Star, even though she was the top face in the women's division, for standing outside the match and taking time away. Basically, what everybody criticized Roman Reigns for doing a couple years ago in the Royal Rumble, that's what Sexy Star did during this match. She stayed outside and let other people fight. So, not really getting much in the way of popularity, Sexy Star. After this happened, Wrestle Circus actually said that she acted unprofessional when they booked her. And apparently it was the same deal where she left the ring and let other people fight the match while she just kind of watched. So, yeah, lovely. Ring of Honor this week had the Motor City Machine Guns versus the Young Bucks, a fantastic match up until the Addiction came out and beat up both teams. Christopher Daniels was teasing leaving the Ring of Honor promotion, or even retiring altogether. He was upset that when he lost the title, all the focus went on to the Bullet Club. He's upset that even though he was the champion, it was such a great feel-good story that he became the champion. As soon as he lost the belt, everybody moved on. So now he's back to the tag team with Frankie Kazarian, and it looks like he's going to be in a three-way feud with those two teams. Should be very good. All three are great teams. Very glad that Motor City Machine Guns are back together. The Addiction is a great team. I'm really looking forward to seeing where these guys go. Should be Death by Dishonor coming up soon, and hopefully we'll see some sort of fantastic match between the three teams there. On Impact this week, Eli Drake and Chris Adonis beat the team of Johnny Impact and Eddie Edwards. The stipulation was that if either Edwards or Impact scored a pinfall in the match, they would jump to the front of the line to challenge Eli Drake for the championship. Since they did not, and because after the match ended, Bobby Lashley was out making a headache for Jim Cornette, Cornette decided that the man who beat Bobby Lashley for a championship opportunity, even though the championship opportunity he beat him for was for the X Division championship, is now going to go to the front of the line for Eli Drake's global championship. So that match is going to take place next week on Impact, and we will be getting two more previews in just a few minutes. On Raw, we had that Roman Reigns John Cena promo. I'm sure you've seen it, and I'm not happy with it. I know so many people went crazy for it. I know so many people love John Cena for seemingly going off script. I believe he did. It's called a promo, you need to learn it line. I did not like that. And even more than not liking that, I don't like my reason for not liking it. Roman Reigns is not The Rock, but John Cena came out with the gloves off like he did for The Rock. And it just feels like he was going after Roman Reigns beyond what Reigns is capable of. And I know that Roman Reigns has been positioned as the next top guy, but never on the strength of his promos. We all have seen Roman Reigns struggle with promos, and I don't think that it is right to try to expose that before a heavily hyped match that is basically a dream match that could be a WrestleMania main event and nobody would bat an eye. To come out weeks before that match and expose Roman's biggest weakness, because that is his biggest weakness, is on the mic. It's not in the ring. I think that is a mistake. I think that it was, I don't know if it was delivered by John Cena, but I think that it was a serious misstep that hurt the match, that hurt Roman Reigns, and I don't think that that is something that should be encouraged. I don't think it's something that, I get that everybody's, he called out Roman Reigns. That's not good. In my opinion, this is like when William Regal tried to shoot on Goldberg back in WCW when Goldberg was still at the beginning of his winning streak, and William Regal tried to chain wrestle him. And everybody knows Goldberg is not up to William Regal's level in chain wrestling. It's ridiculous to suggest that he would be. You don't do that to the guy. You don't expose his weaknesses when they're going somewhere else with him. That's just not right. I love William Regal. I love John Cena. But it was the wrong move when Regal did that to Goldberg, just like it's the wrong move when John Cena is doing this to Roman Reigns. You don't expose a guy's biggest weakness when they're trying to build something huge around him. It's selfish and it's wrong. The other big thing on Raw, the main event, was Sasha Banks versus Alexa Bliss. Alexa regained the title. So even though we got kind of the expectation now of whenever you have to shift somebody else into the championship match because your first contender got injured, you have the replacement win the title, they went right back a week later and undid it. Alexa's champion again. And why did they put the belt on Sasha to begin with? And even worse, there's not going to be a there's not going to be a rematch. I shouldn't say even worse, because I'm glad that they're moving on. There might be a rematch, but it's not going to be high profile, because after this match, Nia Jax turned on Alexa Bliss. No reason to believe Alexa is a face right now. Even if she tried to be a face, there's all these different faces on the roster that are going to have a problem with her. So it's, at this point, two heels feuding over that belt. That should be fun. I want to watch that. I'm glad at that part. I'm not glad at putting the belt on Sasha just to take it away 8 days later. I wish if they were going to do that, they should have just kept the belt on Alexa to begin with. Then on SmackDown, SmackDown did not carry a whole lot of consequence this week, but we did see yet another chapter in the feud between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, as Kevin Owens stole the referee shirt from referee Ryan Tran and took over as referee in Sami Zayn's match against Aiden English. Actually helped Aiden English to win his match against Zayn, and we actually found out that Aiden English has theme music. We didn't know that. He always just comes out to silence while he sings. Nothing is ever played after his matches while he was in his artiste gimmick, because he's never won to have his music played. So that was a big surprise for everybody. And we're all kind of waiting to see where this whole Kevin Owens referee-based feud with Shane McMahon is going to go. On 205 Live, Enzo Amore made his in-ring debut on that show after being in a match on Raw earlier. He was in a six-way match, and they basically exposed him as not being nearly as good as his tag team partners, Grand Metalik and Cedric Alexander, even though Enzo is going to be getting the next title feud from the looks of it. So that was good. We did have it's weird with 205, they put their main event up front because they want to keep as much of the SmackDown house as possible for that first match, in the hope of keeping them through the entire match, because they know they're not going to stick around to the end of the show for that main event. Most of them are going to be leaving. They got work, they got school the next day. They want to put it up front. So the main event was Gentleman Jack Gallagher versus the Brian Kendrick, and it was a hell of a street fight. These two fantastic wrestlers. Gallagher's put on a few of the best matches in the Cruiserweight division this year already, and this was no exception. I was a little disappointed to see him lose, but when the match is that good, can't be too disappointed. Hell of a match. I want to see where they go from here. I hope Gallagher gets a win in his next feud. I hope Kendrick is able to find some other face that really kind of needs a little bit of story, a little bit more than Gallagher did, and I hope Gallagher gets to be the bigger character in his next feud, like he was when he feuded with Arya Daivari. So hopefully in these two splitting apart now, they both can help other people and themselves going forward. Then on NXT, we had Roddy beating Bobby Roode. After Bobby Roode loses the belt, Roderick Strong cannot win the belt, and he can only beat Bobby Roode when there is no consequence to it. Fantastic. They kind of teased that maybe he was going to be chasing Bobby Roode to SmackDown. Obviously, that's not happening. Then after the match, Drew McIntyre came out, posed with the belt to taunt Roddy because Roderick wants to be the next challenger for the championship. And who should come out but Futura Dragon Shock. They don't have a name yet. When you write it out, it makes sense. But when you say it, not quite as much. But yes, the team of Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Adam Cole, baby, came out and beat up Drew. So now, once again, Roderick Strong is going after the title with somebody else going after a little bit harder. It's going to be very cool to see how they handle that. Is he going to have this little always the bridesmaid, never the bride story going on, where he keeps trying to get the belt but everybody jumps in front of him? If they're going to turn him heel, that'd be a fantastic way to go. Fingers crossed. Let's see. Alright, now coming up this week, looking at our schedule, we have all of the standards. We've got some shows that I don't really have previews for. I don't have a preview for the next Ring of Honor. I don't have a preview for the next New Ohio Wrestling. You probably don't care. Don't have a preview for the next Rocky Mountain Pro. You probably don't care. I don't even have a preview for the next WCPW Loaded. You should care, but you might not. So we do have some shows to talk about. On Sunday, we have Fight TV showing for $9.99, Big League Wrestling Revolution. This was actually recorded on the 20th of August, and they waited 2 weeks to bring it to pay-per-view, so spoilers are out there if that's all you care about. I'm not going to be spending the $9.99, but there is the show. We do have Psycho Phillips versus Jake McCluskey. Dirty Dick Riley versus Savvy Sid Scala. We have the Tag Team Championship, Team GB, that is the Big Grizz and Dave Mastiff. Dave Mastiff, first name so far that I'm actually familiar with. He's got a very similar build to Killian Dane / Big Damo. Very similar style as well. The Big Grizz looks similar, but I haven't seen him wrestle. Versus the Brothers Awe. And they chose that name because the acronym is TBA. So you've got Team Great Britain versus TBA. Okay. That is Alfie and Otis Awe. They're podcasters, so I don't see them winning this. And then the main event is Harlem Bravado versus Jack Swagger. So if that sounds interesting, that is going to be showing on Fight TV on Sunday for $9.99. Tonight, Saturday night, on Powerbomb.tv, if you have a subscription, this is included in your subscription. This is not a la carte pricing. Gorgeous Ladies of Burlesque. This show is put on by Ouroboros, who was formerly known as Ophidian. I think the Osirian Temple or whatever from Chikara. It's that guy. He and his wife are putting it on. She is a costume designer / maker / cosplayer / burlesque dancer, and she's working with her troupe as well as with Ouroboros and some of his friends in the business, including Stokely Hathaway and Rory Gulak, and they are putting on this show together. This is going to be the second night that they'll have done this. They did a live show on Friday night, and then this is going to be streamed live on Saturday night. I don't know what to expect beyond the obvious. We've been told that Stokely Hathaway is going to debut his newest acquisition, so I don't know if that's going to go beyond Gorgeous Ladies of Burlesque, or if that's going to show up and evolve, or if it's just a one night thing. We'll find out. The only match that they've announced is Ouroboros and Rory Gulak are going to take on Kate Nix, that is Ouroboros' wife, and Liberty Rose. So, if you have the Powerbomb TV, join me in watching it. I'm very curious to see what that's going to look like. Should be fun, even if it's a mess. We are finally coming back from hiatus on New Japan Pro Wrestling. We are going to have 2 Road to Destruction shows during this time period, and then next Saturday there is going to be the last Road to Destruction before Sunday's Destruction in Fukushima. All of these Destruction in shows are a little bit lower key than their big shows. You know, it's not King of Pro Wrestling, I believe, is the big one that they're working towards. But Road to Destruction is basically their standard house show setup, and then Destruction in Fukushima. Most of the all 3 shows seem to be built around one singles title and the Tag Team Championship. They all have 3-way Tag Team Championship matches between Killer Elite Squad, now that Lance Archer is back and healthy, Grills of Destiny, and the Tag Team Champions War Machine. So that is going to be on Sunday that you see that match. The Road to Destruction matches are just a bunch of tag team matches. They've got some elimination matches with Naito and the Los Ingobernables de Japón are in most of the main events, taking on Chaos, usually in elimination matches. Next week, Raw is going to be built around, as far as we have been told, the IC title match, Miz versus Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy won the Battle Royal this past week on Raw, upsetting Jason Jordan, who everybody kind of assumed they're building the Intercontinental Championship feud with because of where the story is going, pushing it forward. Don't expect Jeff Hardy to win. I expect Jason Jordan to stay in the Intercontinental title picture, and Jeff Hardy to remain as a tag team with his brother Matt for the foreseeable future. SmackDown, we are getting a #1 contenders match between Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura, and we are getting Natty versus Carmella, what appears to be a non-title match. And Impact next week, we are getting Eli Drake, as I mentioned, defending the championship against Matt Sydal. So that is what you have to look forward to this coming week. Not a whole lot going on in wrestling besides that. Let me know what you're looking forward to. Let me know what you're thinking about any of these topics, be it Sexy Star, be it GFW, be it Gorgeous Ladies of Burlesque, be it about New Japan coming back. Let me know what you think in the comments below or at the Reddit Country Club and the sister thread that goes with this show every week. I love you, Trampions. Thank you for checking out. Thank you for sticking with us from the change from Too Late to Sleep to the weekend show. Cheers.